guys, so on Cosplay Mino, I had asked what kind of videos people wanted to see in regards about makeup, and there were a lot of questions about things that are pretty basic, or well, they're basic to me and other people who wear makeup, but if you don't, then they can be kind of confusing concepts like foundation, eyeshadow, lipstick, blush, so on and so forth. So I decided I'm going to do a concept 101 video, and then following said video, a tutorial on what we talked about in the concept video. So for this first video, we're going to talk about foundation. And foundation is pretty much, I'm not going to say essential, but pretty almost necessary if you decide to wear makeup. And I say that because it can pull the whole look together, because even if you're not wearing a full coverage foundation, if it's something light or like a BB cream tinted moisturizer, it can pull your face together in a way that leaving it just bare wouldn't. So it can really pull a look together, and that's for even, let's say you don't cosplay and have no idea what I'm talking about when I say cosplay, and you just wear like eyeshadow, lip gloss, lipstick, then a foundation can help. And essentially what foundation is, it is essentially pigment mixed in with various different types of ingredients that are safe for your skin. Now that being said, it is possible to be allergic to certain foundations, and it really is just a test and see kind of thing. Like for example, there's a brand called Makeup Forever foundation. Their old formula would break me out whenever I wore it. The Smashbox BB cream would break me out whenever I wore it. But I would be fine wearing things like NARS, the new Makeup Forever Ultra HD, I can wear that. The Urban Decay, I can wear that and not have any problems. There are some people who experience like itchiness or redness when they wear certain foundations. If you feel that, or if your skin feels tingly, or if your skin feels just uncomfortable in a foundation, don't wear it. Just don't. Your skin is first and foremost the most important thing when it comes to foundation, and just everyday life in general, take care of it. So if it doesn't feel right, don't wear it. Mini PSA over. Anyway, so foundation comes in various types. For the sake of simplicity, we're only going to be talking about two. And those two include liquid foundation and powder foundation. So mind you, there are many other types, like there are mousses and creams, and the list goes on and on, but we're just going to talk about these two for now. So liquid foundation is just what it says, liquid. They can be thicker in consistency, they can be thinner in consistency, and they have different types of coverage. And the coverage also applies for powder foundations. And those coverages range from sheer to medium. So think of them like nail polish. Sheer being you put on one coat, you can still kind of see your nail. That's a sheer coverage foundation. You're still going to see a little bit of your skin. Ideal for people who aren't really used to foundation, don't want a heavy foundation. They don't want anything that's going to like completely suffocate their skin. I'm not saying a full coverage, medium coverage will. It's just some people are very picky. That's what a good sheer foundation is going to be good for. Then you have your medium coverage. That's your nail polish, where you put it on once and you can see some of your nail, but most of it is pretty covered. That's a foundation that is going to, let's say you have dark spots, blemishes, things like that. It's going to cover them. It might not cover them completely depending on the severity of the blemish or dark spot, but it's going to get most of it out of the way. Then you have your full coverage. That is your nail polish, where you put it on and you can't see your nail at all. In terms of foundation, this is your foundation where you put it on and you can't see anything. So you're not going to be able to see those dark spots. You can't see the redness in those blemishes. The foundation is going to cancel it out. Now liquid foundation comes in many different types of formulas. There are your oil-free formulas, there are hydrating formulas, there are your mattifying formulas. It really just depends on what your skin type is like, and that should base upon what kind of liquid foundation that you buy. For example, I have combination skin, meaning my T-zone, or not even my T-zone, just my nose is very oily, but my cheeks can be very dry. I would not want to get, or at least for my skin, I don't want to get a very hydrating foundation. Like NARS Sheer Glow, it worked for me when I had dry skin, but now that I have combo skin, my nose oils up and gets like a disco ball, you know, and maybe an hour or two after I wear it, and that's just because it's too hydrating for my skin. So knowing your skin type and determining your skin type can be vital in choosing which foundation to wear. Now, when it comes to liquid foundations, there are also various ways to apply. You can use sponges, you can use brushes, you can use your fingers, whatever makes you happy. And I'm going to have pretty much a video about using each of those things, with the exception of the sponge, because I don't do sponges, I don't have one. I might go out and buy a cheap one for the sake of demonstration, but conventions, Christmas, birthdays coming up, trying not to spend excess money. So we'll see. And for liquid foundations, that's pretty much it. And this applies for any type of foundation, no matter what. when you put it on, and let's say you're in a store that has testers in it, and I really do recommend going to a store that has testers, because just looking at the bottle and saying, oh, this works for me, can be a waste of money, unless you get like extremely, extremely lucky, is seeing what the foundation looks like in natural light before you purchase it. Because store lighting can vary greatly from actual outdoor lighting. Bathroom lighting can vary greatly from actual outdoor lighting. I will have stuff that looks terrible when I go into my bathroom, but the minute I step foot outside, I look great. I'm like, oh yes. But in my bathroom, I was like, what is on my face? So really, always check. Always, 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 always check. Now when it comes to powder foundations, like this. This is the Stila Pore Perfecting Putty, which, oops, sorry, I'm blinding you guys, which is supposed to be like a mixture of a cream and a powder, and I don't know how that works, but it just does, apparently. Powder foundations come in two forms mainly. There's a pressed powder like what I just showed you, and then there are loose powders, and a brand that's really famous for the loose powder foundation is Bare Minerals. And I personally prefer pressed powders because they're much neater, they're much cleaner. You don't have to worry about powder getting all over the place, whereas loose powders, you open that bad boy up the wrong way and you've got foundation all over the place. Or you stick that thing on your purse and it's not closed all the way, you're inside of your bag, and maybe your phone, wallet, whatever else you got in there, those might be a different color. And powder foundations, normally people who have oily skin prefer them. I do get the occasional dry client at Sephora that wants a powder foundation. I just recommend moisturizing really, really well before you put on a powder foundation if you have dry skin. Because primarily they're meant for oily skin, but you know, it's to each their own, whichever you're most comfortable with, whatever works for you. And sometimes your skin's natural oils can help a powder foundation look a lot better than once initially applied. So it's really a test it out and see kind of thing. I normally never wear powders on their own. I normally wear them over top of a liquid, or I might keep them in my purse just to touch up with throughout the day, but rarely ever on their own. And when you wear foundation, maybe powder, liquid, or any of those extra types, there is one thing I normally do recommend wearing underneath, or well, two actually. First of which is a moisturizer. And your moisturizer can be varied on, you know, what your skin is like again. So like for me, I have combo skin, so I use an oil to moisturize with. I don't use lotion, I don't use any heavy creams, because I find that those cause my foundation to break down faster. But if you have drier skin, you may want to use more like a cream or a lotion type moisturizer, whichever one isn't going to be too thick and too heavy for your foundation. Then you have your primer. And your primer is what's going to, one, create a barrier between your skin and the makeup, and two, it's going to help the foundation last longer. Three, it can improve the appearance of skin if it's something like, let's say, a blurring primer. And there are primers for essentially every skin concern. There are primers for hydration, there are primers for oily skin, color correction, acne. There are primers with SPF for aging concerns, for, like, the list literally goes on and on and on. So if you have a skin concern, chances are some brand out there somewhere has a primer for it. Like Smashbox has like 8 or 9 primers, and some brands only have 1 or 2. So really just depends on what you're looking for there. Anything else I can think of that is helpful for you guys to know about foundation? Oh, color matching. Because color matching for foundation is ridiculously difficult. And it's especially difficult if you are on the very fair Snow White side of the scale, or if you are my complexion and deeper, it is difficult. So everybody in like that middle range, most foundation companies are going to have a good shade for you, but if you're on the outer sides of the spectrum, it's really, really hard. So I do have some brands that I recommend for both, and I'm going to kind of sort of link those below. But when it comes to color matching, my recommendation to make things easier is if you have a Sephora around you, or even if you have an Ulta that has testers, and would be my second recommendation. If you have a Sephora around you, go in and have a Color IQ done. And that's essentially going to scan your face 3 times, and it takes 3 pictures, and it matches you to a whole bunch of foundations. Now, I will say the Color IQ system is not perfect. Color IQ, for me, because again, I work in Sephora, I know that not all of the foundations recommended are going to work on a person's skin tone or work on my skin tone. And I don't know how to fix this. I've been trying to email Sephora and be like, hey, how do you take out some of these suggestions? Because they really don't work. Like my number is 1R12, and out of that, I think I have 2 foundations that work out of my I don't know how many get listed. Then I have one foundation that's supposed to be for a completely and totally different color IQ number, but works perfectly for my skin, but I know would not work on somebody that has that number. So yeah, it's not a perfect science, but if you get the right consultant who has the right amount of patience, it can be a super helpful tool. Now, that being said, Sephora does give samples, so if you want to try it out at home, see it in natural light, go get a sample. This can also be useful because let's say you don't have the money for a high-end foundation, you don't want a high-end foundation, that's fine. Get your color IQ number, find the foundation color that matches you, get the brand name, get the color name, write it down, go ahead and take a sample, then go to findnation.com, and I'll put a link to that below as well. And what that does is you can put in your foundation shade and it gives you a list of foundations from drugstore all the way to high-end that that have the possibility of working for your skin tone. And it can be a huge asset. So like I said, you don't want to buy high-end foundation, go get your color IQ done anyway and put it in foundation. So that way you at least have options. And then if you have a store around you that's more like an Ulta, where there are testers, then go on and swatch things on your skin. Because going off of online descriptions and saying, oh, this is a foundation for a pink undertone, or a foundation that for a bronzy skin with red undertones, and you're just like, what does that even mean? A lot of employees don't even know what that means, which is, you know, a little sad in itself. But it is what it is. You just kind of sort of want to do what you feel like is going to be best for you in finding color. That's what I find works easiest for me. Like, I will take my boyfriend into Sephora before we go to conventions and get him matched just so I'm sure. And we get a sample. If we like it, we might buy it later. But if not, then at least we have something to test out to make sure that it matches or doesn't match and so on from there. So yeah, that's been essentially Foundation 101. If there's anything else that I might need to go over or that was unclear or you feel like I could improve upon in explaining, let me know down below in the comments so that way I can fix it for the next video. So, next upcoming is the how I put on foundation. So, like I said, that's coming up next. And until then, later YouTube.